This is Poppy and Rye Chapter 22. It's called Poppy Makes Up Her Mind. Though Poppy waited at a tree, Erith did not return. Knowing how unpredictable her friend was, she kept asking herself how long she should wait. After all, she had been with the mice longer than she'd planned. That certainly would have irritated the old porcupine. She began to think he'd done what he had threatened to do all along, trundled back to Dimwood Forest. Yet Poppy was quite aware that her friend might be doing no more than taking a nap in a nearby log. Normally, Poppy would have not minded waiting, but she kept worrying if she were going to save Rye, she would have to act swiftly. Having nothing better to do, she searched about the base of the cottonwood tree for some signs of Erith quills to take back to the nest. When she failed to find any, she became fretful. The thought of seeking into the beaver's lodge without protection of quills was something she did not relish. Having no quills set off a nervous train of doubt in Poppy's mind. Would she be able to get into the lodge again? Was Rye's cage breakable? What if she got hurt? Would they be able to use a vine to get out of the lodge? And what if freeing Rye did bring greater harm to the rest of the family? Maybe Valerian and Clover were right. Maybe it was all too dangerous. The more Poppy thought about it, the more doubt she had about her plan. Suddenly, Poppy felt an intense desire to race back to Dimwood Forest and hide. There, she'd be safe and secure in a world that she knew and loved. It was bittersweet to recall when she had begun this trip. She had been looking forward to a time of calm. Perhaps Erith was right. Perhaps it was better to be alone. And yet she had fallen in love with Rye. Moreover, she had promised to help him. How could she abandon him? She could not, and no more than she could abandon her feelings. Too agitated to wait any longer for Erith, Poppy hurried down the hill and crept back into the nest. It was very crowded. Some 50 or more mice were there, most of them she had not seen before. She got hold of Thistle. "What's happening?" Poppy asked. "It's the rest of our family," Thistle explained. "Valerian asked them to come hear about your plan." "Are they for or against it?" Poppy asked. "They can't make up their minds," Thistle confided. "Poppy, I think we should do it, as long as we have quills to defend ourselves." "Thistle," Poppy confided, "I couldn't get the quills." Thistle blanched. "You couldn't?" "My friend, the porcupine, has disappeared." "Does that mean we can't rescue Rye?" Thistle asked with dismay. Poppy, feeling like she had failed the young mouse, hardly knew what to say. "I'm not sure," she replied. Valerian approached. "Poppy, I sent word to the rest of the family about what you want to do," he informed her. "It's so important I felt everyone should be involved in the decision." "Attention, please," he cried, and the mice hushed. "For those of you who don't know her yet," Valerian said by way of introduction, "this is Poppy. She comes to us from out east. She is a special friend of Ragweed's. This makes her a good friend of ours." Into this there were murmurs of assent. "You've heard what happened to Rye and the choice that we've been given," Valerian continued. "Move off somewhere, and hopefully Rye is freed. Or try and save Rye on her own and take our chances with the beavers. To be honest with you, your mother and I think it'd be best to move on. Poppy wants to rescue Rye. Since this concerns the whole family, we thought it'd be wise for you to hear her for yourselves." Once again, Poppy found herself facing a world of grave, golden faces. Momentarily, she thought of sharing her anxieties, but feared that if the mice knew how nervous she was, they would never give her help. Instead, she simply explained her plan of freeing Rye. "Did you get the quills?" someone asked when she was done. "I'm afraid not." A nervous twitter passed over the family. "I do need some volunteers," Poppy said, almost timidly. Curly Dog shyly lifted a paw. "I'll go," he offered. "Me too," Thistle joined in. "What about the rest of you?" Poppy said. "Can I have your approval?" Valerian cleared his throat. "Poppy, if you don't mind waiting outside, I think it would be easier for us to make up our minds." It was a discouraged Poppy who left the nest. Once above the ground and gazed down at the pond at the lodge where she knew Rye was being kept. Think of it, she told herself, as just another kind of dance. Thistle and Curly Duck emerged from the nest, and Poppy looked at them expectantly. Thistle said, "I think you're making a mistake, but they won't keep you from trying. They're going to move. So we're on our own. Poppy considered her young friends. Please, she said to them, you're brave to volunteer, but it'll be hard, maybe impossible. I won't think less of you if you change your minds. No way, Thistle said with stubbornness that made Poppy recall Ragweed. We're going with you. Curly Dock nodded in agreement. All right then, Poppy said briskly as she tried to stir up her own energy. The first thing we need to do is go a long piece of vine. Any idea where we can find one? The young mice exchanged looks. Maybe up by the berry thicket, Curly Dock suggested. With Curly Dock leading the way, the 3 mice scampered up the hill. A short run brought them over the ridge. On the far side, they went down into a sunny hollow. Before them lay an overgrown thicket of berry bushes and flowering honeysuckle vines. The air was filled with sweetness. We should be able to get a honeysuckle vine there, Thistle said. They're long and tough. The 3 mice were soon deep, very within the thicket. Cool and moist, it was perfumed with the most overpowering, sticky, sweet scent of berries. How about this vine? Curly Dock said. He was yanking on a green strand that twisted high over their heads and out of sight. It really needs to be long and strong, Poppy urged. It has to get us in and out of the lodge. This one looks okay, Thistle said from another spot, and she was joined by the others. Haul it in, Poppy said. Thistle called out from another spot, and she was joined by the others. It's stuck, they announced. Must be tied around something, Curly Dock agreed. No matter how hard the 3 pulled, the vine would not come. Well, we can follow along it, Poppy suggested. Curly Dock was up front, Thistle in the middle, and Poppy came behind. As they followed the vine, they became increasingly spread out, losing sight of one another. Suddenly, from deep within the thicket, there was a frantic call from Curly Dock. Help! He cried. Hurry! Fast! Poppy and Thistle dropped the vine and charged forward. Curly Dock was crouched in terror. Looming over him was Erith. Erith! Poppy cried. Poppy! Erith snapped. You simple smudge of a slimy slug, where have you been? Poppy grinned. I've been busy, but I've been looking for you. What are you doing here? Never mind, just get me out of here. I'm stuck. He pulled back and forth, but his quills continued to hold him fast. Erith, Poppy said, this is Thistle and Curly Dock. They're brother and sister to Ragweed. Ragweed, Erith said. I'm sick of you talking about Ragweed. Just get me out. I need to talk to you. About what? Just get me out. Poppy turned to Curly Dock and Thistle, and they had been looking out on great puzzlement. It's all right, she told them. He's perfectly harmless. Bee butter, Erith roared. I am not harmless. I have a terrible temper. I have dreadful things. I am selfish and who does what he wants, when he wants, and doesn't care what anyone else wants. He's really good, Poppy said. Don't listen to her. I'm bad, Erith screamed. Nonetheless, the 3 mice set to work chewing away at the vines and had ensnared Erith. Even as they did, the impatient porcupine tossed and pulled, trying to free himself. Finally, with a snap, he broke loose. Now, Erith said, tell those friends of yours to beat it. I have something important to tell you. I'm sure they could listen. It's private, mushhead. Poppy looked at Thistle and Curly Dock, who, understanding, scampered off. I've got something to tell you, too, Poppy said then they were gone. You have to listen to me first, Erith insisted. What I've been thinking is... He stopped, suddenly bashful and tongue-tied. What is it? It's just that what I think is... Now you see here, Poppy, I wish I had a piece of salt. Tell me what you wanted to say first. Are you sure? Push the barf button and take a bath. I said so, didn't I? Well then, Poppy said, blushing with pleasure. Erith, I've fallen in love. What? Erith gasped. Fallen in love? With whom? Erith said. He was trembling with emotion. Poppy smiled. I know it must seem strange, but you see, well, actually, it's Ragweed's brother. His name is Rye, and he's... But what's the matter? Thief? Crook? Erith yelled. I'll skewer him, whack him, mash him, turn him into skunk gunk. Edith, what are you talking about? You just think I'm too old, the porcupine ranted, rearing up as though bitten by ants. Too stupid, too big, too sour, too... me. Abruptly, he whirled around and began to rush away. But that's not true, Poppy called after him. It's not. And what did you want to tell me? Forget it, Edith called back. I'm leaving. Where are you going? To Dimwood Forest, Pickleseed, he cried. Edith, Poppy cried after him, please don't go. I need you. You're your own traitor, the porcupine shouted as he tore away from view. With great puzzlement, Poppy gazed after him. Something was surely the matter with her friend. With a sigh, she wished she understood him better. She glanced around. To her great relief, she saw in a fury Edith had dropped some quills. She gathered them up and hurried to find Thistle and Curly Dot.